It starts with a coin missing from the bag. You're a new disciple, 3 months in, and you just paid a merchant in Capernaum for bread and fish for 13 men. The merchant handed you change, 12 denarii back. You counted 11 into the bag. You told yourself you miscounted. You didn't miscount. You've been handling money since you were 14 years old in Kerioth. You don't miscount. You kept one coin. The weight of it in your robe felt like nothing, like everything. You handed Jesus the bag that evening, and he didn't check it. He never checks it. That's the thing about trust. It doesn't ask questions. You weren't supposed to be the treasurer. That wasn't why you followed him. You came because of the miracles, because of the words, because something in his voice on that hillside outside Jerusalem made you feel like your whole life before that moment had been a rehearsal for something you couldn't name yet. You pushed through the crowd. He looked at you. Not the way teachers look at students. Not the way rabbis look at the desperate. He looked at you like he already knew you. Follow me. That was it. No interview, no conditions, no questions about where you were from or what you had done. Just 2 words, and you left everything behind. 3 months later, he handed you the bag. You. Not Peter, who was louder than everyone. Not John, who was clearly the favorite. Not Matthew, who had actually handled money as a tax collector and would have been the obvious choice. You. You didn't ask why. You just took it. And somewhere in the taking of it, you felt something shift inside you. Something that felt like honor, but was actually something else entirely. Something closer to ownership. This was your role, your value, your reason for being here. Without the bag, you were just another face in the 12. With it, you were essential. 6 months in, you've seen things no one would believe. Thousands fed from 5 loaves and 2 fish. A man blind from birth opening his eyes and seeing his mother's face for the first time. Lazarus walking out of a tomb 4 days dead, still wrapped in burial cloth, blinking in the sunlight. You were there for all of it. You stood close enough to touch him when he did these things. You heard the conversations the crowds never heard. When the masses went home, you stayed. When the parables needed explaining, he explained them to 12 men sitting around a fire, and you were one of those 12 men. There is a word for what that kind of access does to a person. The word is dangerous. 1 year in, the skimming is routine. You've built a system. A few coins here, a small overpayment there, the occasional donation that never quite makes it into the bag. Never enough to notice. Never enough to matter to a man who multiplies fish. You tell yourself this constantly. You tell yourself that someone has to live in the real world while he talks about the kingdom of heaven. You have sandals with holes in them. You sleep on the ground in every city you pass through. The least you deserve is a few extra coins for your trouble. The least anyone could say is that you earn it. You manage everything. You negotiate with merchants. You handle the logistics of moving 13 men across Judea. You are the most practically useful person in this entire operation, and you are compensated accordingly. That's not theft. That's equity. The resentment comes quietly and then all at once. A woman named Mary breaks an alabaster jar of perfume over his feet. An entire jar, spikenard, a year's wages poured out in 60 seconds. You say something. You say what any reasonable person managing the finances of a traveling ministry would say. Why wasn't this sold and given to the poor? You meant it, partially. You also meant, why wasn't this put in the bag where I could decide what it's worth? He defends her, publicly, in front of everyone. Leave her alone. She has done a beautiful thing. The others look at you. You sit back down. You have been handling money for this movement for a year, and he has never once said you've done a beautiful thing. Peter opens his mouth and gets called the rock on which everything will be built. John leans against him at dinner like a favorite son. James and John ask to sit at his right and left hand in the kingdom, and even that kind of audacity gets a measured response. You skimmed 14 denarii last month, and you are still here eating dinner with them, and nobody knows and nothing happens, and maybe that means everything is permitted when you are useful enough. You know the Pharisees want him. All of Jerusalem knows. The tension has been building for months. He overturned the money changers' tables in the temple, in front of priests and Roman soldiers and hundreds of witnesses, and walked out untouched. They are terrified of him, and they are furious, and they are looking for a way to take him quietly, without a riot, without the crowds who love him turning the whole city into a war zone. You walk into the house of the chief priests on a Tuesday. You tell yourself you are walking in to see what they know, to gauge the threat, to protect the group. You are not walking in to protect the group. You walk in and you say, "What will you give me if I hand him over to you?" The words come out of your mouth and they sound like someone else's voice. 30 pieces of silver. The price of a slave. The price of a man who is worth something but not much. You think about it. You agree. You shake hands with the most powerful religious authorities in Judea, and you walk back out into the afternoon sun. The market is busy. Children are running between the stalls. A woman is haggling over the price of pomegranates. The world is completely ordinary,
and you have just done something you cannot undo. You eat dinner with them that evening. You laugh at something Peter says. You pour wine. You watch him break bread and say things about his body and his blood that you don't entirely understand and don't try to. He says, "One of you will betray me." The table goes quiet. Everyone asks if it is them. Everyone except you. You already know. He looks at you across the table. What you are about to do it quickly. You stand up. You walk out. The night air is cold and you put your hand on the 30 coins in your road and you walk toward Gethsemane and you tell yourself this was inevitable, that someone was always going to do this, that if it wasn't you, it would have been someone else, that maybe this is even part of the plan, that maybe you are playing a necessary role in something larger than yourself. You have been telling yourself stories for a year and a half. You are very good at it by now. The garden is dark. You lead the soldiers through the trees with torches. You told them the signal. Whoever I kiss, that's the man. Arrest him. You find him praying, alone. His disciples asleep around him. He stands when he sees you coming. He doesn't run. You walk up to him and the word that comes out of your mouth is Rabbi, teacher, and you kiss him on the cheek. The soldiers move. The disciples wake up screaming. Peter pulls a sword and cuts off a servant's ear. Jesus heals it. Even now, even here in the moment of his arrest, he heals the ear of the man who came to arrest him. The soldiers take him away. The disciples scatter into the dark. You stand alone in the garden with torches dying out around you, and the silence comes in like water, and you are completely, irreversibly, finally, alone with what you have done. Morning. They've condemned him. You run. You find the chief priests in the temple. You throw the 30 coins on the floor. The coins scatter across the stone. You say, "I have sinned. I have betrayed innocent blood." They look at you with the particular contempt reserved for people who are no longer useful. What is that to us? That's your problem. You look at the coins on the floor. 30 pieces of silver. You look at your hands. You walk out of the temple, and you keep walking, and you do not stop until you find a field outside the city, and you tie a rope to a tree, and you make the last decision you will ever make. Not with power, not with escape, not with some story you told yourself about necessity and fate. Just a field, just a tree, just the end. The chief priests pick up the coins. They can't put blood money back in the treasury, so they buy the field where you died. They call it a keldama, the field of blood. Your name becomes the word for betrayal in every language on earth. In every generation, someone will name their villain Judas. In every language, the word will mean the same thing. 2,000 years from now, people will still debate whether you had a choice, whether you were a victim of prophecy, or a man who simply wanted more than he had and took it one coin at a time. They will write books about you. They will make films about you. They will argue about your motives in universities and seminaries and comment sections. None of it will change what you did. Somewhere tonight, another man is being handed something he was trusted to keep safe. He is counting it in his hands. He is telling himself it is a one-time thing. He is telling himself he deserves it. He is telling himself no one will notice. It is always a one-time, until it isn't.